Welcome to Speak English Now podcast with your host, Georgiana, the podcast that will help you to speak English fluently with no grammar and no textbooks.
Hello, everybody. I'm Georgiana, your English teacher and founder of SpeakEnglishPodcast.com. My mission is to help you to speak English fluently. Speaking English is easier than it seems. You just have to use the right material and techniques. In today's episode, you will learn new expressions in English with the help of the color white. In fact, with the help of colors, you can say many different things. You'll see. And with an exclusive mini story, you'll be able to practice your fluency in English along with today's expressions. I'm going to start talking about the English idiomatic expressions with the color white. In the following episodes, I will use more expressions with different colors. As I was preparing this episode, I realized that these expressions are used a lot in everyday life. It would be great if you could at least understand their meaning. And don't worry if you don't remember all of them. Alright, let's start. Number 1. As white as a sheet. We use this expression to say that someone is in a state of great fear or anxiety. Let me tell you a story about a friend who had a long-distance relationship before the internet era. During the first month, he spoke on the phone for about 12 hours every day. However, things changed after he saw the phone bill. I'm sure that he became as white as a sheet. Another example. Bill, you're as white as a sheet. Are you all right? Number 2. Raise a white flag. The white flag is a widely known symbol used to symbolize surrender. People carrying or waving a white flag should not be attacked or allowed to open fire. As you have already guessed by now, this expression indicates that someone admitted defeat. Examples. After studying English for 20 years and 8 months, Marta was about to raise a white flag. Luckily, before throwing the towel, she found out about the Speak English Now podcast. Here I use the expression to throw in the towel, which has the same meaning as raise a white flag. Another example. That's it. You win. I raised a white flag. You can eat all the chocolate you want. My friend told his 5-year-old son. Carol was convinced that she was right, so I just raised my white flag in the end. Number 3. Whitewash something. In American English, a whitewash is something that hides a wrong or illegal action. For example, the company was trying to whitewash the scandal. Number 4. White elephant. What's the meaning of this expression? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. And no, I'm not referring myself to a real white elephant. Those are not really white. The color of their skin is a soft reddish brown. Anyway, white elephant is an expression used to say that an investment or a purchase is considered expensive but without use or value. Do you remember the expression, the elephant in the room? We use it when there's a complicated subject that people don't want to talk about. Everyone is aware of the issue, but they prefer to ignore it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. And what if we merge these two expressions? What would be the meaning of a white elephant in the room? That you bought something costly that you can't use and you really don't want to talk about it with your wife? What a mess! It's obviously just a joke. Make sure you use these two expressions separately. Now let's listen to an example with the idiom white elephant. A friend gave me a cat as a present. I really wish he didn't, since for me, it's a white elephant. I'm allergic to cats. Let's continue with number 5. White as a ghost. This expression is used to describe someone who's very pale because of pain, fear, shock, or illness. Are you afraid of ghosts? Well, I am. I'm very apprehensive sometimes. I can't watch any horror movies, or I become white as a ghost. Let's see an example. You know, the movie wasn't that scary, though after watching it, my sister was white as a ghost. Number 6. A white lie. Did you ever tell a lie thinking that it wouldn't have any real repercussions? Did you ever say to a friend she didn't look fat or lied about your age? Well, that's what we call a white lie. And before you go ahead and listen to the example, I want to recommend a TV show on HBO called Big Little Lies. It's quite interesting. Let's listen to an example with the expression white lie. Yesterday, I didn't feel like going to work, so I told my boss a white lie. I told him I was under the weather. And number 7, white collar, which refers to employees who work in an office or other professional environments. There's a similar term called blue collar that refers to manual work or workers, particularly in industry. Example: there are more vacancies for white-collar workers than for the blue collar. Let's listen to the expressions one more time. As white as a sheet. Raise a white flag. Whitewash something. White elephant. White as a ghost. A white lie. White collar. Great! Now you can practice with a mini story. You'll be able to go over this vocabulary we saw in the first section. A mini story is very simple. I give you information using phrases and then I ask you questions. I recommend that you listen several times until it's easy to answer. Michael, a white-collar student, suddenly looked as white as a sheet. Was Michael a blue-collar worker? No, not a blue-collar worker. Michael was a white-collar worker. Michael was a white-collar worker. When did he look as white as a sheet? Suddenly. He suddenly looked as white as a sheet. He looked as white as a sheet because his boss was demanding an explanation. Who was as white as a sheet? His boss? No. His boss wasn't as white as a sheet. Michael was as white as a sheet. Why was Michael as white as a sheet? Because his boss was demanding an explanation. It turned out that Michael had bought a chocolate fountain for the company. It was a mistake. Did Michael buy a drinking fountain? No. Michael didn't buy a drinking fountain. He purchased a chocolate fountain. Was the chocolate fountain a white elephant? Yes, the chocolate fountain was a white elephant because it wasn't useful in an office. Michael bought a chocolate fountain on purpose, right? No, he didn't buy a chocolate fountain on purpose. He bought it by mistake. Michael thought of trying to whitewash his mistake, but it was too obvious. Did anyone make a mistake? Yes, Michael made a mistake. What did Michael think of? He thought of trying to whitewash his mistake. Did he try to whitewash his mistake or to tell a white lie? No, he didn't tell a white lie, but he thought he'd try to whitewash his mistake. Michael finally decided to raise a white flag and hope for the worst. What did Michael raise? A balloon? No. Michael didn't raise a balloon. He gave up. So he decided to raise a white flag. Was Michael optimistic about the situation? No. He wasn't optimistic. He raised the white flag because he was pessimistic about the situation. Did Michael give up? Yes, he gave up. He decided to raise a white flag. Michael woke up suddenly. It was just a nightmare, so he was relieved. Was Michael dreaming? Yes, he was dreaming. Did he have a pleasant dream? No. He didn't have a pleasant dream. Michael had a nightmare. Who woke up? Michael's boss? No, Michael woke up suddenly and realized he just had a bad dream. When he got at the office, he saw a chocolate fountain, and just like in the dream, his boss was demanding an explanation. Who got at the office? Michael. He got at the office. He arrived at the office. Did he see a chocolate fountain? Yes, he saw a chocolate fountain. Was Michael dreaming again? No, he wasn't dreaming anymore. This time it was real. Michael started to look as white as a sheet, just like in his dream. How did Michael start to look? As white as a sheet. He looked white as a ghost. How did he look in his dream? As white as a sheet. Michael looked as white as a sheet, just like in his dream. Who started to look as white as a sheet? Michael. He started to look as white as a sheet. Although the chocolate fountain idea seemed at first a white elephant, surprisingly Michael was promoted for his initiative. It turned out that everyone became incredibly motivated at work. All the employees loved drinking from the chocolate fountain, and therefore they became incredibly motivated. And who wouldn't like to have a fountain like that at work? I definitely would. Perfect! It's the end of this mini story. As you can see, through questions and answers, you can practice and improve your speech. If you want to get hours of audio with mini stories and point of view stories, I'd like to recommend you my fluency course. You can get it at fluency.speakenglishpod.com. Well, I think that's enough for today. Try to listen to this content several times. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Did you enjoy today's episode? Get the transcript now at speakenglishpodcast.com. speakenglishpodcast.com.